Hey there, deep dive buddy. You sent us this really cool report on the Lightning Network, and honestly, I gotta say, my interest is piqued. It seems like this could be a huge deal for the future of Bitcoin. So today we're going to break down exactly what the Lightning Network how it works, and why it might just be the key to unlocking Bitcoin's true potential expert speaker. Are you ready to spark up this conversation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's do it. This report's a great roadmap, I think, for understanding how Lightning could really change the way we think about money, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So let's start with the basics. What is this Lightning Network? Is it like Bitcoin, but, faster?
That's a good question. A lot of people think that, but not quite. It's not a separate cryptocurrency or anything like that. Imagine this. Okay, a bustling city with all its traffic. The Bitcoin blockchain is like the city streets, right? All the cars are transactions. Now picture a network of high-speed trains running above those streets. That's the Lightning Network.
Okay, I kind of get it. So it's like a separate layer built on top of Bitcoin?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
what we call an overlay network.
Yeah.
It's built to handle transactions way faster and smoother than the Bitcoin blockchain could on its own.
So it's all about making things more efficient. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But how do these high-speed trains actually work? What makes them so special?
Well, they're actually called payment channels. And think of it like this. You and a friend are at a coffee shop. Instead of paying separately for each coffee, each pastry, every little thing, you open a tab and settle up at the end. Right?
Yeah.
Makes
Okay.
sense. Lightning channels work kind of the same way. You open a channel with another person, and you can make tons of transactions back and forth without clogging up that main Bitcoin blockchain. You just settle the final balance on the blockchain later on.
So it's like the express lane for Bitcoin transactions. Gotcha. What's the benefit for me, though?
Speed and low fees. Since these transactions happen off-chain, they don't need the same level of confirmation as regular Bitcoin transactions.
Yeah.
You get near instantaneous transactions and super low fees, way cheaper than what you're used to.
Wow, okay. That's a game changer. Now, this report dives into some pretty complex metrics. Can you help us decode some of those? What numbers should we be paying attention to here?
Sure. One of the big ones is nodes with channels. Remember those train stations in our city? Each node with an open channel is like an active station, ready to send and receive those lightning-fast transactions.
So more nodes, more connected network, more people using it.
Right. It's all about accessibility. More nodes mean more businesses, more people connected to the network. So more places where you can actually use Lightning to buy stuff.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. More stations, more routes for your Lightning train. The report also mentions Lightning network capacity. What's that all about?
Basically, it's the total amount of Bitcoin that's committed to the Lightning network. You see, to open a channel, users lock up some Bitcoin as collateral just to make sure everyone's playing fair.
Okay, that makes sense.
But, and this is interesting, that this committed Bitcoin, it's not like a limit on the total transaction amount.
Really? How does
Yeah.
that work?
Think of it like your credit card. Just because your credit limit is, let's say, $5,000, doesn't mean you can't spend more than that over the year. You make payments. Things keep moving. The same principle applies here.
So even a small amount of Bitcoin in the network could actually facilitate a ton of transactions.
Exactly. It's all about the flow, not just the static amount.
Yeah.
And that's where the per channel and per node capacities come in. These metrics give us more granular insights into the network's activity.
Okay, so per channel is like how much Bitcoin is in each channel.
Yeah, think of it like the carrying capacity of our high-speed train.
Got it. So a higher capacity means larger transactions can go through.
Exactly. And then on the other hand, you have per node capacity, which shows how much Bitcoin a single node has committed across all its channels.
So someone with a high per node capacity, they're like a big player in the Lightning Network.
You can say that, yeah, they're like a major hub for transactions.
Yeah.
And seeing growth in these metrics, along with the number of nodes overall, it paints a picture of a healthy and expanding network.
This is all super fascinating, but the report does mention some potential downsides and vulnerabilities that we should probably explore more, you
Right.
know? So we've been talking about all the amazing things the Lightning Network can do, speed, low fees, all that good stuff. But like with anything new, especially in the world of crypto, there are going to be some challenges, some bumps in the road. And this report you sent us, it really digs into some of the vulnerabilities that we should probably talk about. Not to freak anyone out or anything, but it's good to be informed, right?
Absolutely. Transparency is so important,
Yeah.
especially when we're talking about something with this much potential impact. Like the Lightning Network could really change things up.
Right.
So yeah, understanding the risks, that's just as important as getting excited about the possibilities.
100%.
Mhm.
So let's dive in. What are some of these vulnerabilities? What should we be aware of?
Well, one thing the report mentioned that stood out to me was griefing. Have you ever seen someone put a ton of coins into a vending machine just to clog it up.
Ugh, yeah, those people.
It's like that. It's more about causing annoyance than actually like stealing anything.
So a griefing attack on the Lightning Network, it's like that. It's about disrupting things, not necessarily stealing funds.
Right? Someone tries to like flood the payment channels with a bunch of tiny transactions just to mess things up. Now, another vulnerability that's mentioned is an eclipse attack, and that one's a little more serious. Imagine your phone losing signal because someone's jamming it. It's kind of like that.
So they're trying to isolate you from the network.
Exactly. They flood a node with a bunch of their own nodes. So it looks like those are the only other nodes on the network. And if they pull it off, they might be able to steal funds.
Okay, that sounds kind of scary. But the report did mention something called watchtowers. They sound like good guys.
They are. Think of them like those security cameras you see in stores. They're always watching for suspicious activity.
So if they detect something's up, like an eclipse attack, they can stop it.
Pretty much. They raise the alarm and can even punish the bad actors. It's all about keeping things safe and secure.
That makes me feel better. The report also mentions something called pinning, which I'll admit went a little over my head.
Yeah, pinning is pretty complex, but basically it's like someone messing with the order of transactions to make the network think you paid them when you didn't. Luckily, developers are working on ways to prevent this, like anchor outputs, which are more tamper-proof, and then there are package relays, which kind of force the attacker's hand and stop the attack from happening.
So it's like a constant battle, right? Developers are building defenses, and then attackers are trying to find ways around them.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cat and mouse game, for sure. But that's the nature of cybersecurity, especially with something as groundbreaking as the Lightning Network. The stakes are high, so ongoing development and adaptation, that's key.
It makes you wonder, with all these potential benefits and these potential risks, will the Lightning Network really live up to the hype? Will it revolutionize things? We'll tackle that very question when we come back for the final part of our deep dive. All right, we're back for the final round of our Lightning Network deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground here. You know, what it is, how it works, the good, the bad, the potential, the risks. So, expert speaker, what's the verdict? Is this thing going to revolutionize Bitcoin like everyone's saying?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? This report, I think, does a good job of capturing the sentiment among developers. And I'd say it's a cautious optimism.
Yeah.
They're excited about the potential, but also realistic about the challenges.
Cautious optimism. So not a definite yes.
It's more like they see the potential, but they're also aware of all the things that could go wrong. They're really focused on making sure the development is slow and steady. And that makes sense given all those vulnerabilities we talked about.
Yeah, it's like building a house. You got to make sure the foundation's solid before you start adding floors, right?
Exactly. And another thing the report emphasizes is the need for more people to actually use the Lightning Network, like actually use it.
Yeah, it makes sense. You can test something in a lab all day long, but you won't know how it really works until it's out in the wild.
Totally. Real world use, that's what's going to help us find any hidden flaws, any issues that need fixing. It'll also push developers to keep improving things, keep innovating.
So the more people use it, the better it gets.
That's the idea. Of course, more users could also mean more unexpected problems, but the developers seem ready to tackle those head on.
That's good to hear. So what would you say is the most important thing for our listeners to keep in mind as they're learning more about this?
Well, we've talked a lot about the technical stuff, the how of the Lightning Network, but I think it's also important to think about the why. Like, if this thing really takes off, if it actually solves Bitcoin's scalability issues, what could that mean for the future of money itself?
Whoa, that's a big question.
It is. We're not just talking about faster transactions here. We're talking about a whole new way of thinking about finance. A more accessible and maybe even a more equitable system. It's definitely something worth exploring further.
For sure. Well, this has been an awesome deep dive into the world of the Lightning Network. Big thanks to our listener for sending in such a fascinating and thought-provoking report. We've only scratched the surface here, but hopefully this gives everyone a good starting point to learn more. Until next time, keep those minds curious.